2-minute warning at DKR, and once again, it would appear the Longhorns have it under control, although with the third quarter we just saw, let's not call it official till it's official, but it is 31-14 Texas leading Kentucky. They are 2 minutes away from getting a 10th win and ensuring that if they get a win in College Station, they will go to Atlanta. Those are the basics. There's a lot of other things to get into with this one. Welcome to the Postgame Show on Orange Bloods Live, brought to you by the good folks at Lowy Law Firm. Also, shout out to TCH Social Austin, where we had the watch party today. Thanks to the folks who came out for the watch party to watch Texas control Kentucky to this point. 31-14. Looks like they are going to get this win. If you want to jump in with super chats, obviously they'll go right to the top of the list. That, of course, is Jeff Ketchum of orangebloods.com. Jason Sukamel may jump in with us, although it has been a busy recruiting day, so he does have other things going on, but he may join us today. And, of course, Anwar from the stadium coming up at DKR. And plenty of y'all in the chat, I'm sure. Get us a super chat. We'll get right to it. Jeff Ketchum, it is 31-14, Texas with a lead. Where do you start the discussion on this one as we're 2 minutes away from Texas' 10th win of the season?
Well, let's make sure we say, I suppose, the single most important thing out of the way, which is the Longhorns look like they're going to win a game against a conference opponent by 17 points at home. That is the single most important thing that happened. I think on a day when their playoff chances improve because of the loss by Ole Miss, it maybe takes some of the jeopardy out of the Texas A&M game. Don't lose sight of the fact that Texas is 10-1. I think the nation will look at this performance and think that it was perfectly fine. I don't think there will be any real reaction from the local side, from once we acknowledge the key points, the Quinn Ewers injury, what it means for the game against Texas A&M on next Saturday, and what would it mean if Ewers is hobbling around Kyle Field and the Texas offense is struggling as much as it did in the second half with a hobbling Quinn Ewers? Is Steve Sarkisian's commitment to Quinn Ewers finishing this thing out so strong that he would potentially risk a game? Or it sounds kind of preposterous, right? But this game got close in the second half, and it felt like from the third quarter on, there was a real sense of Ewers isn't right. The ankle seems to be getting worse. The offense wasn't doing anything. And I mean, let me just look at the numbers real quick. The passing offense in the second half, 14 yards. So we can't say that the ankle didn't have a problem, that the offense wasn't limited. It was. The passing game just became an afterthought. And luckily for Texas, the running game was really good today. They're going to rush for well over 200 yards. And Trey Wisner sitting at 158 today. So there's some really good components of this, but I'm left with a lot of questions about what does Quinn Ewers' ankle look like next week? Why didn't they make a move tonight once the game was over? Was this about Quinn Ewers treating this game like senior day and that they did not want him to be taken out of a game, given that it looks like it's going to be the last home game that he ever plays in? I don't know. But it felt like the smart football decision would have been to go to your backup quarterback up 24-7 to make sure that Ewers doesn't make that thing worse with the A&M game a week away. And I just didn't understand a lot of what Steve Sarkisian did in the game with the quarterback, with the quarterback. And, I suppose we probably should have known. It's been about 6 weeks. There's no way we were going to make it through the rest of the season without Quinn Ewers having some sort of physical question. It is a big part of kind of who he's been since he's been in Austin. Here we go. We'll go into the A&M game, and there will be a lot of talk about his ankle, and I'm sure Steve Sarkisian will downplay it, but it's in the numbers. They became a one-dimensional football team that scored 7 points in the second half because something kept Steve Sarkisian from making a change at quarterback. And, it's just it's one of these. I know that Texas fans probably are, all of them are wondering the same thing. If this were to happen next week, is the commitment to Ewers such that this team will either win with him or lose with him, but there will never be a change, because today felt like the time to make an obvious change and it didn't happen.
Let's start the super chats. And as I was about to go to $5, big money wins, and $20 is where we start. JR, thank you for $19.99 on a super chat. Saturday night, and you two are working. Thanks, gentlemen. Good win. I'll take it. Yeah, you do take a win. It looks like Texas will get that, as Kentucky is trying to go down the field, but it is 31-14. JR, thank you so much for that. Also, this is the one I was about to put up, Catch, along the lines of what you were just talking about. Mitch, $4.99. Do you think they kept Quinn in because it was his last game at home? Early on, we saw the image of him with the commemorative football and shaking Sark's hand and all that. It's like, okay, so they're giving him that kind of treatment today. I get it on some level. I kept asking myself a fairly simple question, Catch, and maybe it's not simple. It was just, how hurt is he? And is this we're going to gut through this and we don't think we're doing any more damage? Or once we talk to Anwar, I know somebody's going to ask it, or Sark will deal with it. Do we believe that Sark thought he was hurt? And should he have been thinking about Arch? Or did he just think of this as, my quarterback's going to gut through? Because at one point, Catch, the TV cameras caught both Sark and Quinn's face in succession. Bam, bam. And they both looked shell-shocked at that exact moment in the third quarter, because it was sort of like wait a minute, how did we get here? How were we doing all of that? And then all of a sudden we're in like a 10-point game and nobody can hold on to the ball. Running backs, quarterbacks, nobody seems to be able to get a firm grasp of the football. So I just kept wondering to myself just how bad this is. But I don't know. I have no idea what level of injury we're talking about.
Ewers' confidence in his body was clear. He's throwing balls behind the line of scrimmage. He's dropping snaps. There was a lot of things that were going on there. They just, by the way, that was Trey Moore getting his second sack of the game.
Mm-hmm. Boy, he's playing well, isn't he?
You know what? If you're a Texas fan, you hope that Trey Moore comes around and stays one more season.
Yeah.
And plays an entire season the way that he's played the last 2 or 3 games. He just destroyed Kentucky's right tackle. The game's not over yet. There's still about a minute to go. Trey Moore with a sack.
Catch. I think, remember that play? It was either against Florida or Arkansas, where he was rushing the quarterback and then stopped and read that little screen play and went out and stopped it. I feel like from that moment to now, Trey Moore's just been making plays all over the place. Like, that felt like it was almost his awakening type of moment.
No, there's a lot, I think, of really good the only negative in this game is that Quinn Ewers has some sort of ankle injury. It clearly, like, we have eyeballs. We can see him walking and running and moving. He became immobile. And as soon as that happened, the offense, especially the passing game, the passing game just was non-existent.
Yeah.
14 passing yards in the second half. That didn't have to happen. Now look, and it's funny as they don't take Ewers out of the game. By the way, is that Andrew Makuba with another interception to end the game. I like this Cutter Boley kid, though, from
he looks good.
Kentucky. I think the Wildcats got a little something there in their young quarterback, who this game could have been different if he'd started this game.
Yeah, the season could have been different for Kentucky if they play that guy.
I watched this game today wondering, why did he not play earlier and why was he not playing more? Because they've had the worst quarterback play in the SEC for the most part. They didn't today. I like the young kid. And I don't really blame him for heaving a ball down the field when they're down, by 17. 39 seconds left to go. Defense plays pretty well. Probably not the best game that they played all season, which, considering, they give up 2 scores, and some of that has to be on an offense that was doing the defense no favors.
Hey, they didn't give up 2 scores. They gave up 1. They weren't on the field for that.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, your prediction catch was damn close because you said 34-7. It should be 31-7 right now if that mess didn't go the other way for the second touchdown.
Yeah, and look, that was part of Quinn's confidence in himself, I think, was limited. And what little they tried to do in the passing game once he got hurt was everything was near the line of scrimmage, and it just felt like, I don't know, if I'm an A&M coach and I'm watching that, you got to come after Ewers. You got to feel like that ankle can be a problem at any point, any contact. I cannot believe that we're going to go into the A&M game with this kind of quarterback kind of discussion taking place. He was playing very well before the ankle injury.
Yeah, he was.
And everything changed after that. And it's okay to say that. It's not a knock on Ewers. We could all see it. Again, this was like naked eye stuff. You could see that the injury occurred. You could see him as the game goes along moving worse and worse. The offense stopped functioning, and they are really going to have to give some serious thought, I think, about whatever Sark. I don't care what Sark says about the injury. I have eyeballs, and I don't care what they say next week about how he practices. I have eyeballs. I know that he can walk onto the field next week without a limp, and that at any moment the limp could return, because that's the way ankles work.
Yeah. Or don't.
The question is, if next week Quinn Ewers is anything close to what was happening in the second half of that game, what will Steve Sarkisian do? Today, the answer was it's Quinn Ewers or bust. And I think there will be some frustrated Texas fans that feel like, look, this isn't even about replacing Quinn with Arch. This was about the starting quarterback was on a bad ankle. We should, with a 17-point lead, we should probably try to preserve that guy, put Arch in, and let Quinn heal for next week. I don't know. It was an odd one, and I'm looking forward to Anwar joining us, and Anwar Richardson will join us later from the stadium, probably in about 45 minutes. We got super chats. We got a lot of stuff to get into. I'm curious what he will say, but it almost doesn't matter, because I don't know that he'll be honest with us.
Well, the question for me, Catch, here's the question. Would you put it in an opening statement, or would you make the media ask you?
Oh,
like, how do you deal with it? You won 31-14. You got your 10th win. You're going into College Station just like you want to. Do you even mention that your quarterback got banged up, or do you just say, hey, great win and our run game looked good, and take questions?
He'll take questions and he'll answer it in the form of a question.
Okay.
And the thing is, it didn't work. So if it even works, and you can say, well, they ran the ball, 15 plays, 86 yards, 8 minutes, 22 seconds, an incredible drive, considering they were literally telling Kentucky on every play, we're just going to run it at you.
Yeah.
If you don't know by now, we're not throwing the football. That they were able to go down the field the way that they did on such a long drive. The game wasn't really in jeopardy. There wasn't a sense, I think, that anybody thought that Kentucky was going to win the game, but they close out strongly.
Yeah.
But boy, you're playing offense with one arm tied behind your back when your quarterback can't move at all. And it's just intellectually dishonest if there are any suggestions that the ankle didn't have an impact on the offense. It did. It clearly did on Quinn. And why he doesn't make the change. There'll be a lot of questions. I'm sure he'll say he's loyal to Quinn, but today it felt like maybe to a fault. What does it mean for next week? I don't know. It feels like a little bit of a precarious position, all things considered.
All right. We are going to talk to Anwar a little later on. Jason Sukamel also jumping in right now here on the post-game show. Jason, we were just talking about this game. It is done now at a 31-14. Texas gets the win. We were talking about Quinn and the ankle stuff and kind of how to put all this together. Give me your first thoughts on the game. Obviously, it's a win. We got all the basics out of the way of what all that means. But for you, how do you start talking about this game?
Kind of went about what I expected. I think I predicted 17 points. I thought Kentucky would ugly this thing up, which they did. I didn't see Texas handing them a defensive touchdown necessarily. But, Kentucky's defense was able to kind of take away the big play. I kind of came in at the end to catch his comments. The Quinn injury, I don't know what to make of his performance. It was kind of up and down. What do we do with the ankle injury? That's going to be a talking point all week. Good win at home. It wasn't a thing of beauty. I said, hey, there was a lot of the second half where Kentucky looked like the better football team than Texas. I didn't think I'd find myself saying that. If Kentucky had started that freshman quarterback for the entire game, I don't know what we'd be talking about right now. But you know what? It's kind of like we said last week, Chad. You're in survive or win in advance, right? Win and survive mode right now. So survive in advance, whatever the term is. So Texas, good 17-point win. Wasn't the most beautiful, wasn't the cleanest. Quinn didn't play the cleanest game, but they advance. They move on, keep their championship hopes alive. Obviously, all eyes will be on Texas A&M next week.
Yeah, and obviously, like Lane Kiffin will tell you today, a 17-point win that you might consider ugly, you take that all day. Yeah. You absolutely take that.
Chad, I think one of the stories of today, it is everything else that happens around college football. It is Ole Miss losing. That's a big one. I don't think it can be stressed enough. The loss by Ole Miss today likely leaves Texas, I think very likely, leaves Texas in a position where if they lose to A&M next week, they'd still be in. Kind of what they needed was for one of these SEC teams with 2 losses to pick up a third. Mm-hmm. And now I think Tennessee's a big winner today because they had to have felt this week like, oh man, what are we supposed to do? And especially in a world where A&M would beat Texas, it'd be like, oh, Tennessee might be blocked out by both A&M and Texas. Ole Miss losing today, I think, just made the pressure that Texas will have to deal with in College Station next week. Maybe it doesn't change it the way you feel about it in the game, but I really feel like we will know as a viewing audience that Texas might have a bigger safety net than it looked like they might have 12 hours ago. And I don't think that that's an insignificant thing. I think with the win today, Texas has 1 foot into the playoffs. And if I'm right, in 2 losses that they still get in anyway, then they've got both feet into the playoffs, even though we don't quite know it today.
All right, let's grab a super chat here. $20 is the biggest number I see right now. If you want to go above that, we would love it. Throw us a super chat, and it'll go right to the top of the list. If it's a big one, over 1,300 of you in that Specs chat. $20 from K. Timbrook. Thank you, K. Quinn looks crippled and stiff. Arch is going into a war zone next weekend. He should have been warmed up this week. Guys, this sounds like a fan who believes that Quinn is compromised and Arch starts in College Station. I'm assuming if Sark felt like that was the case, Quinn would not have finished this game.
Yeah, Quinn finishing the game tells me he'll start next week. I mean, unless he has some kind of setback midweek or something. But he definitely looked stiff and I don't want to say crippled, but was hobbling around out there. And it's a weird position because I've always said after Sark pulled Quinn in that Georgia game, if he does it again, based on performance, that this is Arch Manning's team.
But this wouldn't have been performance.
Right. What's that, Catch? Sorry?
This wouldn't have been performance.
Yeah, this one he could have done it exactly. He could have done this one. I mean, it was a little performance, but he could have spun it as, well, Quinn was hobbled, so we had to put Arch in to finish the game. So I think he could have done that and then gone back to Quinn, which I think we all think he would want to do. But, I don't see Arch starting that game next week. I mean, Quinn literally is probably getting treatment right now. I mean, they're probably working on that thing already and trying to get him as, he'll probably be in a boot all week. Maybe he doesn't even practice the first early part of the week. But I still think it's Quinn's team next week in College Station.
K. Tim Brook, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Let's go to I want to know if you guys think this one's a little strong from S. Roan. $5 super chat. Tired of playing down to inferior opponents. Is that how you would describe 31-14 catch?
No, not really.
I wouldn't either.
This was a blowout ball game. Quinn Ewers injures his ankle. The offense kind of slows down to a halt as a byproduct of that. Jason, I don't know. You probably missed the numbers. 14 passing yards in the second half.
For a while. Wow.
Yeah. Like they became and in the end, they're going to be really proud of the way they finished the game. They beat Kentucky worse today than Georgia did, or really any of the other really good teams that Kentucky has played. No, I don't know that that's what happened today. The only negative for me, really, besides the fumbles, because that just won't stop.
Yeah, that too. That's the other issue.
I don't trust any of those running backs going.
There were 11 combined fumbles in this game. I just saw the stat. 11 combined fumbles. 6 for Texas, right? 5 for Kentucky. Yes.
Oh, read them out. God. Let me see who are the fumbles. Let's see if we can count them out.
Well, Kentucky had 5, lost 0. Texas had 6 and lost 2.
There were 6 fumbles in this. Wow, I didn't realize there were that many total.
11 combined. That might be some sort of record.
Well, look, that does not include the Jaden Blue touchdown that I am not convinced was a touchdown.
See, I did think that one was a touchdown. I thought they got the right call there. It helped that they called it a touchdown, because then I didn't think you could officially see that it wasn't. But I don't know. Maybe I was just using.
I thought the ball was starting. I thought it was starting to come out, but there's no. If there had been video proof, then they'd have overturned it. So, but I mean, he's a hair away from that being 2 fumbles by Blue. Gibson comes right in and fumbles. Who else had one?
Quinn obviously had the touchdown.
Ewers has the fumble, and then Silas Bolden had a fumble.
Silas Bolden had one that he recovered. Well, Bolden had the muff punt. Does that count as that doesn't count as a fumble?
No, because he didn't lose it.
Well, no, but it could be a fumble because he fumbled one where he was on a reception, then he fell on it.
That's still a fumble. Right. That was a legit, just a fumble on a regular play.
A muff punt, even though he recovered it, is that still?
I think a muff punt's still a fumble.
Did you mention Gibson?
Yes.
Okay. So I think
one for Blue.
Yeah.
One for Gibson. One for Quinn. One
Bolden.
For maybe 2 for Silas.
2 for Silas if you're counting the muff punt as a fumble. That's 5. And then somebody else, I don't know who else fumbled that we had. It doesn't count as a fumble if you just
Quinn throwing the ball out of bounds 9 yards deep count as a fumble.
I don't know. I'm not sure how that one goes.
Well, it was yeah, you know what, Catch? You might be right because that was a backwards pass that went out of bounds.
Yeah, it was a loss of 9 yards.
But a backwards pass isn't a fumble, is it?
It's a lateral.
I've never thought of that.
Again, I'm trying to get to 6. Chad, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying, well, that happened, and I'm trying to figure out how they got to 6.
And by the end of this game, fellas, both in performance and the fumbles and everything, if you want to know who Steve Sarkisian trusts to hand the ball to, the young man from DeSoto is the answer. Quintravion Wisner, 26 for 158. And a 6.1 yard average. So based on what you guys saw, the quarterback discussion is one thing, but do you guys have any doubt that number 26 is going to would be at the load of the carries in College Station? Is it that simple?
Of course I do.
It's funny, I wrote that in my postgame notes. I said, just when I think I'm starting to say, okay, it's Jaden Blue's spot, then he goes and coughs it up and so, yeah, it's going to be Wisner.
I mean, he'll be the guy that's the guy, but that doesn't mean that midway through the first half, he's done nothing. I don't trust the run. As good as the running game was today, my trust in it isn't all about productivity. Yeah, I know.
Well
I don't
done.
know. I can't explain that. Thank you. A volleyball clap for my ability to.
You know what? You kind of went Pat McAfee there. Let's mispronounce a word on purpose because it's cute. Productivity. There you go.
No, but Blue and the fumbles. It really felt like midway through the second quarter, okay, I can see it with my eyes. Jaden Blue's the best running back on this team. And then he almost fumbles on the goal line, and then he fumbles a little bit later on. And then there's, I've looked at Jaden Blue all season long and thought to myself, you got to ignore these fumbles if you're Sarkisian. That he's too good, and he'll work his way out of that. After today, I don't know. I mean, he's going to play. They're going to play him and Wisner together, but they need an upgrade at the running back position next year. And I know Wisner had a big game today, 158 yards. I mean, Blue averages 6.4 and almost had 100. He gets 100 today if he doesn't put the ball on the ground and they don't. And then Gibson comes in for one play and fumbles.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like someone could make a case that the running game looks really good going into next weekend's game. I don't know. Maybe it does. It's hard. Kentucky is not great stopping the run. We knew that coming in. They're a little bit overhyped in terms of their ability to stop the run. I thought Texas gashed them over. I didn't understand what Kentucky was really doing defensively today. They were running a lot of looks that left them exposed, gaping holes in their defensive line, allowing backs to get to the second level. Yeah, I don't know. I certainly didn't think that Texas played down to the competition. I thought they were in the middle of a really good performance. They closed it out really well. The offense just slumped a little bit while the quarterback was hurt. But, I mean, overall, I think it was fine.
Let's go 1999 on that super chat. Thank you, Mark. How does Sark's support for Ewers impact Arch, if at all? Kind of goes back to what I was discussing with this thing of how it was all playing out. And obviously the three of them, they know whatever this was. But I mean, Jason, for me, it just didn't feel like a situation where, I mean, obviously Arch is ready to go kind of at a moment's notice, but it just didn't feel like a situation where Sark was at that boundary line of, I'm about to need to maybe put Arch in. I just never felt like that was in his process.
Yeah. I mean, people on Orange Bloods were talking about it. I didn't think it was ever really a realistic possibility. As long as Quinn could, function, 70% or something, Quinn was going to stay in the game.
Was he 70%?
Well, I don't know. I mean, whatever. 60,
they threw for 14 yards on offense, and
by
the end of
by
it,
design. I mean, hell, they rushed the ball 15 times.
By the end of the game, Ewers is throwing the ball backwards. He's giving it away. He's dropping snaps. He can't move. They're not even trying to throw the ball downfield.
He threw 5 passes in this. Third quarter is 3 for 4, 14 yards. Fourth quarter, 0 for 1. I mean, they ran the ball 15 straight times on that one drive. But I didn't ever think it was really in play that Arch was going to come in, because I don't think
it needed to be.
I think it needed to be, but I don't think it was in Sark's mind. I don't think it was ever a realistic thought. But to Mark's question, like, how does that impact Arch? Well, Arch is like, well, hell, Sark's loyal as hell to his quarterback, so maybe that's a good thing. I would think forward to next year.
Yeah, I would think, Mark, if we got to November 23rd and Arch doesn't understand how all this works, I mean, that would be silly to me. I think they all understand. They all understand how this works, and it was going to take
a little. I mean, listen, I get it. Arch is.
Can I tell you who's cursing today? Papa Manning's cursing today.
Seriously, it's got to be a little bit frustrating.
This is what dads do.
Oh, no, not in a 31-14 game.
I think they've been very patient, and I think they've been incredibly supportive. I promise you, Cooper's probably walking out of the stadium today like, probably should have put my boy in. And like,
probably thinks, hey, they're a better team with Arch. I mean, you and I said it last week, Catch. We think the better quarterback's on the bench. And I mean, Quinn was good in the first half, so I'm not bash on Quinn on senior day, but the better quarterback, I still feel like might be on the bench. And hey, if Catch and I feel that way, you don't think Cooper Manning and Archie Manning and Arch Manning feel that way?
And I'm not saying it's a thing, Chad. I'm just saying, I promise you, I've never met a quarterback's dad who in that circumstance wouldn't have walked out grumbling a little bit about their boy could have done at least that. And I think,
right.
If you're Sark, it's obvious why you wouldn't want to do it. it's like, oh my God, I've been trying to not stir up the worms on this quarterback thing all season long. And then in the third quarter of the final home game, a week before the season's on the line, am I going to open the can of worms?
Yeah. And he also got stuck a little bit, guys, between two circumstances. Up 17 at halftime, somebody asked me, hey, would you put Arch in here? And we were having that discussion. But then when it becomes 24-14, and if Kentucky hit a field goal, 24-17, then you have that moment of, wait a minute, am I putting Arch into this game? Am I putting Arch into a game that's all of a sudden become
all of
wacky?
That was happening with Ewers on the field. So it's not like, well, if we put Arch in, things can go bad. They were going bad.
Right. Yeah, right. But I'm saying, is that the moment where you'd put your backup quarterback in, and it's not just saying, hey, preserve this win for us. It's saying, oh, wait, things are going to hell, and we need you to do it maybe a little more, or I don't know.
And look, this game doesn't matter in that sense. Texas won, and they did grind it out, and they did run out 8 of the final 10 minutes of the fourth quarter when it had gotten a little bit close. It's all about, what does any of this, if any, mean for next week? Because A&M will be a tougher opponent next week than Kentucky was today. No offense to Kentucky and to anybody that thinks that A&M is not going to show up next week and put in a performance. I almost don't know what to say to that. He will need to be better. The offense will need to be better. And look, I think we'll all look. I promise you, I can almost bet money on this. It should be a prize pick. It'll be like, how many minutes does Quinn go before he starts hobbling around next week? I probably set it at about 7.5 minutes into the first quarter. If that happens and he starts hobbling around, how much of tonight or today do we see next week against an A&M defense that's roughly as good as Kentucky's defense? Maybe a smidge better. So I don't know. Like, it's a tough, of all the games that have been played this season, this might be the most difficult to discuss because there's probably not a right answer for the Ewers. We think he should have put in Arch, but Sarkisian clearly thinks that he needed to stick with Ewers, and he will think that his reasoning is the best reasoning. Otherwise, he would have made the switch. And we don't have any idea what it means for next week. We're going to have a week of, Quinn participated in practice and the ankle looked good, whatever. All that matters is that next weekend, does that thing get aggravated at all? And if it does, is it like tonight? Because tonight, it completely disassembled him as a player. To the point where if they had needed Quinn to make some important throws in this game, I don't have a lot of confidence that based on the way he was playing towards the end of the third quarter, I don't have a lot of confidence that if they'd needed him to throw for 100 yards in the fourth quarter after only throwing for 14 in the third, I don't know. They're not throwing the ball down the field. It got in the second half. I don't think they threw a pass more than 5 yards down the field. They only threw a handful of passes, but everything was short. Think about that first pass coming out in the third quarter where they hit Wisner for a 5-yard loss. It was just a lot of throw it out into the backfield, keep it safe, get the ball out of his hands. And when they tried to do something other than that, Quinn had real problems. He, threw the ball for a 9-yard loss. He fumbled the ball, and I think he just lose it and then try to grab it. And
he never regained control. So then when he threw it,
he pushed it forward.
That's not right. That went down as a fumble, not a pick. Correct?
But if that goes if that ball hits the ground, isn't that a shovel pass?
I think they would have called it a fumble because he never regained.
He
never regained control.
But he got control of it enough to push it forward.
Yeah. I'm looking at the stats right now. Quinn doesn't have an interception,
no,
so they
changed it to a fumble.
That's a fumble, because he lost control.
I just wonder what they would have. I'd love to have an official breakdown what he would have thought that was if
Right.
the ball hits the ground and is scooped. It got caught in the air, so it didn't matter how the hell they scored it. It was what it was. Again, I think there's a lot more good than bad today. It's just that the bad centers around an injury that none of us can really predict what it will mean for next Saturday. So, you can't not talk about it, but I think you're somewhat limited in the discussion of what you can talk about other than to say, man, if this were to repeat itself, is it yours or bust? Is he so, because today the answer is yes. He was not going to take Quinn Ewers out of that game. Here's hoping that Quinn Ewers is much better next week and that the issues from today repeat themselves on Saturday. It will make that game incredibly problematic, I think, if it happens.
All right, kind of off the game topic, but Jason, I want to make sure this one doesn't get lost on a big day that had some recruiting stuff too, and we'll get to the $50 super chat as well. But Jason, talk to or have a Fasusi update for the people. He did make the trip, correct?
He did, and I did talk to him briefly before the game. He was walking in. And we're supposed to connect tomorrow, Jay. Fasusi and I are for like a full interview. Just small talk with Fasusi. He's like, I'm just kind of trying to have some fun, go see some games. He's saying all the right things that Oklahoma wants to hear, but the fact that he's in Austin this week, College Station next weekend, my guess, Jay, is that he's going to not stick with Oklahoma. But honestly, I think it's 50-50, maybe 51-49 Texas A&M over Texas right now, or maybe 50-50 even. I mean, don't discount Texas A&M in this Michael Fasusi sweepstakes, but he kind of downplayed the visit today. He was coming in with Jamie French. He just kind of made a little bit of small talk and said, what's up? But yeah, I'll talk to him tomorrow, Jane. I know you're on Orange Blood, so hopefully we'll have an update on Fasusi on Sunday afternoon at some point.
There you go. All right, let's get to that 50 spot. Thank you, Barb's 10. Look at that. I saw Barb's 10 today at the watch party here at TCH Social Austin. Thank you for that 50. I'll raise the ante for super chats, fellas. Hear me out. Maybe Sark was preserving Arch. Kind of kidding. Kentucky D was charged up after the pick six. Don't want two hurt quarterbacks at Kyle Field. TCH watch party getting bigger. Nice to see you. What was that? Oh, nice to see y'all, Chad and Cody. Yes, Cody Carpentier came up for the watch party today. It was nice to see. Maybe preserving Arch. Never thought about it that way as we were watching the game. Good to see you, Barb's 10. Thank you for thank you for that.
Says that tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
but that is the craziest thing I've ever heard suggested, and just it's like, oh well, there will be some. I guarantee you, there's somebody out there that has that thought for real.
Well, and then is somebody gonna? I'm assuming somebody would ask the question today. Maybe Sark's gonna consider it an insult, but I don't think it's insulting to say, "Hey, Sark, did you get close to thinking about putting Arch in due to Quinn's thing?" And is he gonna brush that off, or is it gonna be like, "Oh no, we thought about it, but the trainer took a look at Quinn on the defensive possession. He was fine. We went with him, and we didn't feel like he was gonna hurt it even more, or whatever." But it's a fair question. We'll just see if he gets asked.
And remember, Sark got asked that, I think it was like a Monday press conference or something, right? And he got kind of bristled at it. But this one, you can, like you said, Chad, you can couch the question as, hey, Quinn clearly was dealing with an injury. Did you ever think about it? Not based on performance. So somebody, I think, will ask him that in the post-game press conference.
Yeah, I would.
Can I say something completely unrelated?
Sure.
How freaking incredible was that Jelani McDonald interception?
Oh, dude, that was – hey, first off, the read, the play, the execution of the interception was amazing. But he was playing like zone, and he came off of one guy when the ball was thrown to the other guy. So just the read to put himself in position was great. But that diving interception, man, that was as good as you're going to see.
Yeah, and sometimes when a quarterback throws a ball that badly, it's even harder to make the interception, and he did it anyway. And at the first look on the replay, I thought the ball might have been on the ground, but I saw the ball move, but he kept his arm under it. It was an incredible catch. It was a remarkable play.
I have not had anybody actually give me an answer on this.
Okay.
Let's not put any hyperbole on this interception.
Okay.
Yet. What is the best interception that any of us have ever seen a Texas defensive back or player make? Now, the Michael Griffin one in the Rose Bowl, right, where he's coming over to the sideline and makes that catch.
You're not talking about just importance. You mean the difficulty of the play.
Yes. I mean, from a degree, the most spectacular interception that any of us have ever seen a Texas player make. Does anything jump out?
The Griffin one obviously pops into my head because that is a tough one to make. He's got to go full speed, catch the ball, get the feet down. Everything about, and that was a huge moment in that game. So you probably have that one on a pedestal of sorts. But
this is a tougher interception, though. That was
definitely
a tough play. He covered a lot of ground. But.
It definitely was. Jelani McDonald had to go full freak mode to figure that one out. And I'm so glad that they double checked it and verified that he caught it.
It made it even more badass. It was like they're trying to take it from you.
Yeah.
And it was so good. They can't take it from you.
And you could feel the energy from his teammates, too. His teammates knew he did it. He knew he did it. It's like, come on, guys, confirm this. And then they do it, and you felt the energy from it. So it's right up there, Catch. I can't think, other than the Griffin one, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I'm going to have to start a thread on Orange Bloods later. And just have people nominate interceptions.
This is going to be in Catch's 10 thoughts, a ranking the top interceptions.
No. But I might.
Auburn's knocking on the door of the goal line, like a second goal at like the 2.
Oh, that game's going to be freaking wild all night long. Just A&M Auburn is going to be fun tonight. The OU, I guess the OU game hasn't started yet.
That one, I'm not sure.
I feel like I jinxed Texas a little bit.
I don't think it has, no.
I said earlier today at halftime, I was like, Michael Fasusi is realizing that the team he's watching right now is a lot better than the one he's been watching all season long. And then Texas started playing like Oklahoma in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But he had to love what he saw from the offensive line, right?
Yeah, that part too.
In the fourth quarter, I guess. Yeah.
Texas blocked the crap out of Kentucky overall today. By the way, guys, how about 14-0 Notre Dame late first quarter? They already up 2 full touchdowns, trying to shut down that Army discussion tonight. We got 15 super chats staring us in the face. We appreciate y'all.
Bring them on.
We appreciate y'all for that. Let's go to this one. Type O, 1999 super chat. Catch, Chad. Tell Brian Jones he needs to do his homework more on his predictions. And this game is all on Sark. It's not nearly this close if he puts Arch in to start the second half.
What was BJ's prediction?
I'm not sure exactly what prediction that they're talking about. I'm trying to remember.
He must have made it on the air, maybe on the
must have been, right? Yeah, it must have been something on TV because I don't remember him making any kind of weird prediction on our show this week. So typo, I'm not sure, but we'll pass that along to Brian that you think he needs to do more homework on CBS.
He'll love hearing that, sure.
Yeah. Oh, Brian will take constructive criticism so well. He always does. Hooked on the Horns, just throwing capital letters and a 10 spot. It's officially hate week. Beat the hell out of A&M. Texas fans, you're there. You're there. 10-1. You're sitting back, and I guess some of you may hope Auburn beats A&M. Some of you maybe are hoping that the best A&M shows up and you get even more out of them if you beat them next week. Either way, you get the win, the 10 wins, and if you beat A&M in College Station, you're headed to Atlanta. Hooked on the Horns. Hope you had a good night watching the game. Hope you enjoyed it. All right, let's see. Here's another $9.99er from Steven. Quinn is costing himself money each time he plays. 2, bench Jaden Blue permanently going forward. He's a fumble machine. Guys, I was one of those that said you needed to put him right back in against Georgia. Was it the Georgia game? No, in Georgia, was it? It was, what game was that? Where he fumbles. It was the one right before Georgia, I guess. Maybe it was Mississippi State. Thank you. I was the one that thought they needed to get him back in there and get him right back on the horse. They didn't do that. But Catch, I'm kind of with you tonight. Once we get to this point tonight and he has that fumble, now I'm starting to wonder, but they did put him back in. And give him some more reps. Jason, what was your take on when you saw Blue go back in at that point? Were you with that decision, or were you in the crowd that was thinking, man, maybe 23 just doesn't need to have more carries?
He's such a dynamic player. I don't think you bench him permanently, but I was surprised he went back in tonight. I think it was the next series even.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he certainly was on that long 86-yard drive. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised when he fumbled. I was like, okay, he's not playing again the rest of the night, but they put him back in there. He held on to the ball. He ran the ball well. So, that tells me he'll still be in the game plan next week,
Chad,
I would assume. But
yes, sir.
I just think they put him back in because Wisner got tired and Gibson fumbled.
Right, because they were just trying to get a little breath for him for Wisner, and then Gibson let him down.
To Blue's credit, he used those snaps effectively. I thought he ran the ball really well on that last long drive, but he got back into the game because Wisner ran the ball like 7 times in a row. And then they needed to just give him a blow. And look, I don't know what it means for next week, though. But, hey, if you're Blue, you can exhale a little bit and just, okay, I finished strong. And, he'll say, look, I almost came away with 100 yards in this game. It wasn't all bad, but my God, young man, you have to protect the ball better. You have to.
No doubt. No doubt. By the way, 10-play, 4-minute drive. Auburn's got a touchdown. They may be reviewing it just to double check he got in, but looks like Auburn's put a touchdown up pretty quick in that one at Jordan-Hare, if you're following along. What about the first part of this one, guys? Quinn is costing himself money each time he plays. Is that a little drastic?
I don't think it is necessarily. I mean, you're not seeing Quinn on any first-round mock drafts anymore, right? So, I mean, each passing week, it feels like his stock is dipping a little bit. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about that today. I mean, Alex Dunlap and Cody, I don't know if Cody's still around. Cody's the draft guy, but is he even a day 2 pick at this point? I don't know,
I think before the injury, he made a couple of the best throws he's made all season.
He did have some really nice throws in the first half, yeah.
The ball that he throws to Gunnar Helm down the seam for the touchdown was it reminded me of the ball that he threw to Jatavian Sanders in the OU game back in 2022. I don't think it was quite that good, but if you look at it, he's throwing the ball over 3 guys. There's moving parts. I thought it was a tremendous throw. I thought the throw that he hits Isaiah Bond was – now, I didn't like it that he couldn't hit Bond in stride, that he drops that ball in and Bond has to catch it in a way where he goes to the ground. It's real nitpicky because I thought it was a really good throw, but a better throw would have just been able to hit Bond in that same situation where he's on the move still. Maybe Bond scores if that happens. The deep balls suck. He's not good at them. And we're at a point now where it just feels like he's lobbing the balls down the field. And someone yesterday on Orange Blood said that if the ball lands within 10 yards of the intended receiver, that it's a moral victory. Sorry.
Wow. That's harsh.
It kind of speaks to that part of the offense is just very ineffective right now. And what I liked that was today, he did hit on a few of those intermediate balls that Chad, I've been stressing for the last couple of weeks. Those are the ones that he threw really well a year ago. They've been taken out of the offense. And before the ankle injury occurred, he hit on 2 or 3 of those balls that I've been saying for the last few weeks. Those, not these deep balls, these intermediate balls are the ones that you'd really like to see the offense get back again. And they did. And, I thought second quarter that Quinn was on his way to a 4-touchdown game, and that we would probably look at this a little bit like we did the Florida game and say it was a perfect tune-up for whatever next week is going to be. What changed that is the ankle injury. And I don't think it would be disingenuous for anyone to put, I think, the performance after the ankle injury on anything other than the ankle. I don't think I don't think NFL scouts are going to watch that film and go, we should really use this to judge our opinions on him. I think they'll know he was playing hurt. You almost have to just disregard all of that. I do think in terms of his NFL stock, he's got to stop getting these injuries, though. It can't be every month there's something new. And, I think when eventually Arch Manning, Jason, is the starting quarterback, I think the hope will be that they're getting a guy that can be a little bit more durable than Quinn, because it's almost cliche now that 5 or 6 weeks went by and oops, here's the next thing that from a physical element standpoint that he has to deal with. It sucks because I think it's kept him at times. The injury earlier in the season probably keeps him from getting hot and having the kind of year that could have made him a potential Heisman finalist. Who knows how that looks if he never gets hurt and just catches some momentum and goes. You think back to a year ago and the year before, it's just unfortunate. Like, we just haven't seen a season where Quinn either is, and you know what? You know what kind of sucks the most about it? Sam Ehlinger went through the same thing. So the offensive line play is better. They're not quite risking and exposing the quarterback to the kind of hits that Sam would get on a weekly basis. But every week it felt like Sam's got a collarbone or a rib or an ankle or something. And it just turns out that the guy that replaces him, kind of the same thing. They haven't had a real.
Sam was more physical in his play. Quinn.
Oh, I know. But I mean, the bottom line is the same. You always had a quarterback that was dealing with something. And
but if Sam was more of a pocket.
7 of the last 8 seasons have kind of featured quarterbacks that you kind of know going in, oh, something will happen before the year is over and he'll get hurt and we'll have to see what happens. And I'm just saying that when Arch comes around, you'll cross your fingers and hope that he's a guy that can be a little bit more durable, because it's nice to be able to have your quarterback healthy for 12 games. Texas should try it.
The durability thing will absolutely – I mean, Quinn's going to get critiqued by NFL scouts just for his play, but the durability thing will absolutely play a factor in his draft stock, in the eyes of the NFL, 100%.
Yeah, Mitch threw us a $1.99 super chat with what a lot of Texas fans were thinking, probably watching. Sucks because Quinn was playing great. Ketch just talked about some of those great throws that he had. Mitch, thank you for throwing that super chat in, climbing up towards 1,600 of you in the Specs chat. We appreciate you, including James with a $9.99. Excuses are sometimes reasons for some things that happen. I've heard that before. But Quinn looked hurt in the second half. He kept hobbling. Think that's why his throws were way off and wasn't moving.
He only threw the ball 5 times in the second half.
Yeah,
so it's like
it's true, but I guess when the passes happened, it didn't look great. Jason, that's why
technically it would have been 6, but one went 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's where I start to wonder, guys, how much discussion is there in postgame? How much will Sark allow here?
One was so bad it turned into a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. So technically, they tried to throw it 7 times.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, Jason, it was 7, not 5. Come on.
But the 2 that don't get counted are the backwards pass that I literally don't know what the hell he was thinking and trying to do there. And the other was a ball that he shoved into a defender's arms that went back for a touchdown. So, okay, I've spoken.
Yeah, it was it was tough there. Thank you, James, for that super chat. I think I saw another $9.99 or 2. I think that's the high money right now. Rogue Shop, what's up, Rogue Shop? $9.99. Can we win games versus good teams with Quinn? Why do we seem to shut down creatively on the offense every second half? Is this a Quinn issue in the second half or Sark? Well, certainly in this one, the injury was part of it. But what about the Sark part, fellas? Ketch, what do you think?
It's kind of cliche because I think we've said it before, but there is a Sark's offense is usually at its best in the early parts of games when he's on script, when they are able to really, I think, execute what they've practiced significantly on, what the opening script looks like. And I think those guys know those plays frontwards and backwards in the early part of the game in terms of what they want to do. It has been known to happen that the Texas offense under Sarkisian can bog down in the second half to some degree. The thing is, there is an injury excuse or reason, sometimes a reason, that whole thing. But, I wasn't in a real nitpicking mood about the offense until the injury occurred and the offense kind of slows to a halt. And, it only matters if any of this permeates into the game next week against A&M. If this was a one-off and Quinn's able to move around freely and be healthy next week, then tonight's just a win. It's just a game that they won inside of a 10-1 season, has a chance to be 11-1 and has a chance to be an SEC championship year. I just, it's just one of those things where like sometimes a win can lose a little bit of the steam coming out of it because of an injury that occurs.
Yeah.
If Quinn had gotten hurt and they had taken him off the field and he hadn't come back in, then there would be some real, I think, anxiety about what does Texas get from Quinn going into Saturday. I guess Jason, there's no way to escape the anxiety. If you pull him to be safe, then you've pulled your quarterback before the biggest game of the season because of an injury, and that creates a little bit of fire in a crowded theater. And so does a guy getting hurt and you just letting him play it through and it doesn't go real well. There's just, I suppose, going to be anxiety about Quinn and the injury no matter what once he started hobbling around a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what the right decision was because either way, Sark's kind of opening a can of worms a little bit, as you said earlier. I mean, you leave him in, he doesn't play well, you're opening a can of worms. You pull him out, you put Arch in, you're opening a can of worms. So I don't know what the right decision was by Sark. But as far as like getting, I forget what the term the Super Chat user said, like, bogged down or whatever, it was kind of by design. I mean, that third quarter was pretty bad, but the fourth quarter, I mean, Sark doesn't give a crap. I promise you. I promise you, he'll in the postgame, he'll be perfectly happy and he'll talk about the way they ran the ball as he should. I mean, that one drive was something else. So it did kind of bog down, but a lot of it was by design. The game was pretty much in hand. It's not like Texas was really ever in jeopardy of losing this game. Like, hey, let's just run it down their throats, see how that goes. And it worked. So I don't have a problem with it.
All right, we'll get to some more super chats real quick. Let's give TCH Social Austin some love. That's what the room looks like right now. You can see, oh, good Lord, I'm sorry to show you the OU helmets. That wasn't my intention. That's where we watched the game earlier, and this is where you can come next Saturday night for the watch party for Texas and Texas A&M. I think you're going to see those other two handsome faces here, Jeff Ketchum and Jason Sukumel. Come on out.
We'll definitely be there next Saturday.
Damn right. And by the way, fellas, we had somebody today, our man ATX Bates, actually thought we were just overselling the bad beat bacon. He kept thinking there's no way. He finally ordered it, and he realized we were right, and he should have ordered it before. So if you haven't had that bad beat bacon, come on out and try it. I did have an order of it today. It was
of course you did.
As always. It was wonderful.
How many jellyfish?
As always, one jellyfish and one love streak today. We went.
You are unbelievable with your ability to pace yourself on the thing that you want the most.
That's right. You just got to keep it zen. You got to keep the zen. You got to keep it.
Jason would have been 5 jellyfishes in.
Dude, hey, last time I didn't even have a single. The 2 times I've been there, I've had a total of 1 beer, Catch. You'd be proud of me.
Wow. Well, this is what I'm saying, that if you gave in,
no. Oh,
yeah.
Touchdown Auburn. Deep touchdown. Now, Catch, don't ask me about how many beers I had after the post-game show was over, okay?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That would be a different discussion. As Jason just alluded to, if you're a Longhorn fan that wants to see Aggie sadness tonight, you're off to a good start. Auburn already had the 7-0 lead. A&M misses a field goal. Auburn just hits a bomb touchdown. It's about to be 14-0 at Jordan Hare.
That's that freshman receiver, too, Jordan or Cam Coleman, right?
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was Coleman. All right, we got some super chats lined up that we will get to here. Let me just make sure I get to them. 13 of them lined up, and I think I had another $10. There it is. Our man Tom G throwing us $10, and then I screwed up and hit the button wrong again. Come on. $10. I thought our secondary got leaky when the other quarterback came in. Your thoughts? Thank you, Tom G, for the super chat. Yeah, Catch, we talked about it a little bit, I guess, that the other quarterback came in for Kentucky. What'd you think of Texas defense when he came in?
Well, they hit the big ball against Barron. When Barron is cheating a little bit And he really didn't need it. They would have had that covered up if he'd gone underneath to the receiver underneath Barry and Brown. But Kentucky. I think one of the frustrating thing about Kentucky as an offense is they've got some playmakers. People think Barry and Brown's going to be an NFL player, and today he had one catch for 43 yards. Ultimately, Boley comes in and he has a quarterback rating of 119. So whatever we want to say, and the only points they scored were in the second half were not with Boley. That was the fumble return for a touchdown. So did Boley come in and complete some passes? Yeah, he was 10 of 18. Yes. Beyond the throw, though, that he makes, they hit a couple throws, but they didn't get into the end zone. He wasn't terribly efficient. The offense didn't help him out a lot. I didn't walk out of the game going that, and we have an immense sample size with Texas on the defensive side of the ball. They're really good. Did Boley hit more plays than Vandergriff? Well, yeah, because that guy sucks. And he was
how was that guy a 5-star? Oh my goodness.
Whew.
So I think he looked like he was having so much more success because the other guy's just terrible.
Yeah. Tom G, thank you for that.
And they had 42 and a 43-yard play, both on busted coverages. Well, I wouldn't call Jade's a busted coverage necessarily, but
he just got beat, but he got busted all right.
Well, he got beat, but like you said, he tried to cheat. He was going to jump that other route, and then he couldn't recover. But then they had the busted coverage in the first half. But so there were a couple big plays that was uncharacteristic of this defense. But yeah, I wouldn't say they were leaky necessarily. They just had a couple bad plays that kind of skewed perception a little bit.
It says a lot. Hey, Jason, I remember when you and I first got started, and Quentin Jammer was on the team. And some of the early posts on orangebloods.com during games, one of the first whipping boys was All-American Quentin Jammer, because occasionally he would have the audacity to give up a reception for 10 yards here and there. And I would always say, even in real time, I would say it's about the standards that he set, that whenever any catch at all is made against him, that you feel like he's struggling. And I think we kind of saw that. There was a play where, Gilbo should have gotten beat down the field once. We just rarely see that happen. We saw Barron beat tonight. There was one play where they hit a receiver and there was just the defense didn't cover it. So, they gave up a little bit more than normal, but only in a world where they're as good as they are could they hold a team combined to a quarterback rating less than 120. And anybody suggests that somehow it was indicative of poor play.
Yeah, we also had on the positive side of the DBs, Brad sent this in for $9.99. We need to give Muhammad some love on the corner. He rarely gets his name called, but that's because he never gets thrown to Muhammad Island. From Brad. That's a good idea for last stand hats. Muhammad Island. Maybe get the hat all made up for him there. Brad, thank you for that. And let's see.
Hey, Chad, remember last week Muhammad came out for a couple of plays. They put Kobe Black in, and the other team literally was like, "Oh shit, Muhammad's not in the game."
That's true.
However many plays he's not in, we're throwing that direction.
Yeah, and you're right. That's a great point. That might be the biggest compliment we can give him, because everybody remembers that moment. It wasn't that long ago, and it was so quick and distinct. You're right. It was a rush to get out there and throw somebody the ball.
He was out for 2 plays, and it was like bang, bang. And before that, they weren't throwing the ball on that side of the field at all. I think opposing coaches and quarterbacks probably have more respect for the season that Malik Muhammad has had, considering he's on the same team with Jahdae Barron, and it is what it is. Barron's been spectacular. But I think those that are playing against Muhammad respect the hell out of him, because they do not attack him very often and haven't all season long.
There you go. We got more super chats we will get to. Thank you for jumping into the Specs chat. Real quick, let's let Lisa tell you about Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Is coming up. Specs might be able to help you if you, especially with that app, if you've got a lot of things going on, they can help you with your holiday planning. Let them help you. How about Patrick with a $5 super chat? Really concerned about the game next week. Quinn is hurt and gives us 2 to 3 quarters of good to decent quarterback play. Again, to whatever the discussion will be here in the post game, and then what does Sark say about it on Monday? Jason, you mentioned, how does it look during the week? I hope he lets us crawl in his brain a little bit on how to discuss it, but coaches like to keep these things really close to the vest because, Jason, if he really thinks Quinn is compromised in any way, he's probably not going to try to say it out loud, right? He's going to try to keep that to himself.
Yeah, they'll have to do an official injury report, but he's not going to give many details. You can already tell on Monday. It's like, well, he's with us today, and we'll have to see how he does. And Thursday, it'll be a basic update.
Right.
No coach, when it comes, especially the quarterback, and when you're playing a game as big as next week's game is, no coach is going to divulge much information on injury updates. So I think everything will be pretty vague and pretty basic. We'll have to tap into other sources probably to get a legitimate update. So.
Yeah. All right. More super chats lined up here. Patrick, thank you for that one. Let's grab, okay, that one's done. And I think a $10 spot just came in. Once again, the legendary Tom G throwing us $10. We appreciate it, Tom G. Hope you're doing well tonight. Last week you thought Hill might have lost the butt kiss. Do you think he won it this week? That dude was everywhere.
I think, look, he had 10 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and would have had more except the offense was on the field the whole fourth quarter. No. I think this helps maybe get him back in it. We're at the last, as far as last impressions go, before the final votes are in and there's a finalist, today certainly would help. It kind of depends on what other guys do. I would imagine if I was a Butkus voter, I would kind of have a floating rank. I probably don't wait till the week before I vote on the Butkus and then go, who's having a good season? I probably have an idea of who I like. And then I haven't looked at how any other linebackers across the country played today. So if he had the game that he had and everybody else was kind of quiet, then this could certainly help him become a finalist. I'm not quite sure how they do it if once they're a finalist, if they go in and then vote just among the finalists. So, I think the key right now would be get to become a finalist. And then even then you would still have next week's game and SEC championship game platform before it's all said and done. So I do think tonight goes a long way towards potentially getting, he's still on pace, guys. If they play a couple of playoff games, there's a real good chance that Anthony Hill's going to have a double-digit sack season from the linebacker position. That has never happened in all the years that I've covered Texas football. Ever.
That first sack he got was funny because he comes charging in, and Vandergrift's like, I don't want any part of this. I'm just going to fall down.
I wondered if they were going to give it to him.
Yeah, he didn't even touch him. But Vandergrift's
but
like, no way, dude.
Yeah. But he did fall to the ground. It was, hey, you know what, though? I've seen some plays this year where Texas has, I think, gotten a quarterback behind the line of scrimmage, but they'll officially call it no gain, even though I saw that guy not get to the line of scrimmage. I've seen some sacks not given this year, so I am as deputy of the sack commission, I am awarding that to Anthony Hill, and I'm not even challenging it. I've seen too many sacks not given this year, so he gets it. He had 2 today, and you know what? Colin Simmons, second straight game in a row where Colin Simmons had some pretty dramatic and impactful plays. He had a big tackle for loss. He gets a sack late in the game. After 2 or 3 weeks, he had a couple of games where he just wasn't showing up on the stat sheet. Felt like he hit the freshman wall. This is the perfect time of the year to feel like that guy is over the wall. I thought up front, Texas was really good today. Hill was great. Obviously, Simmons was really good. Trey Moore was really good. Baron Sorrell was impactful today. Jermaine Lole. It was kind of a quiet Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton day, but I saw Bill Norton a couple of times. I saw Jermaine Lole make some big plays.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to give a grade to the Texas defensive line, I'd probably give that group an A today. Like,
yeah, that big
Chad, it was mostly on the back end of the defense for one of the things this season.
Yeah, the big was it a 4th and 1 stop they had where Lole was a big part of that. There's somebody else
he combined with Sadir Mitchell on that play.
Okay, I could not tell who the other person was, but it felt like it was Lole and somebody that really turned that play back. Norton was there right after that. But yeah, Lole was all kinds of huge on that play in every way possible, figuratively, literally, and everything. All right, let's see. We got super chats lined up. $5 is the big number I see right now, so throw them at us if you like. Oscar, $4.99. As much concern as there is about Quinn, Christ have mercy. Blue is sickening to watch. It's a fumble per game at this point. Again, he
Christ have mercy. That's kind of the response, Chad.
I mean, at the watch party here at TCH Social Austin, in that period of time, it's just such a weird feeling. It was like nobody could hold on to the ball. Running backs couldn't hold on to the ball. Quinn couldn't hold on to the ball. As Jason pointed out, Kentucky couldn't hold on to the ball. It was just a weird third quarter where you wondered if it was pouring down rain in Austin and we just couldn't see it. But yeah, it was weird. I do like the idea, to Jason's point earlier, if he is a factor, if you just believe in his ability, I do like the idea of getting him some carries to maybe shake out whatever nerves there were. I don't know, to not have his next carry be in College Station. I do like that theory. If you're gonna count on him again. So I don't know.
Your boy Marcel Reed threw an interception, Chad, and Auburn's got the ball back, 14-0, about to go to the second quarter.
The only good news for A&M in that sequence is they were in the red zone, so it's not like they're turning it over deep in their own territory. But we're in a spot of this game now, fellas, where third score is going to be critical. If Auburn scores third here, I don't know that A&M can chase it down. I'm not sure A&M can chase this down at 14-0. But if it goes 17 or it goes 21-0, it's probably good night for the Aggies at Auburn tonight. They're not designed to chase that down. So the next sequence here and who scores is massive in that ball game. All right, let's see. We've got this is an interesting comment from earlier from Jay. Maybe a little harsh. $2 super chat. I cannot pick us to win at A&M with Quinn.
I can with this defense and A&M's offense. I can.
Catch.
The same A&M team that's down 14 to Auburn right now. I mean,
just threw a terrible interception.
I think Quinn Ewers has been his best on the road in his career. On the road at Alabama, on the road at Michigan, on the road at Kansas State back in 2022. And this is a Texas team that comes into the A&M game with a really long, what are we at, 9-10 road games in a row that Texas has won? No, I can't remember what the exact number is. But
I think it's 10 now. I think we're at 10. Yeah.
Why not? Whatever you would say about Quinn, his play on the road is not among my chief concerns.
Mm-hmm. I think that is probably fair. Jay, thank you for that super chat. We appreciate it. Let's see here. Let me see if there we go. We got a 5 spot from S. Roan earlier, wanting to give the offensive line a little bit of love. If I can get it to pop up. There it is. Offensive line looked fantastic. The running numbers were big. What was that final rushing total? 250 even for Texas, 5.3 on the average, and certainly ran that clock in the second half when they needed to. S. Roan, thank you very much for that super chat. Let's see. Another comment on the defense here. John with a $4.99 super chat. Great effort out of the D today. Good to finish strong after sloppy third. Did the Big 12 play their way out of the playoff today? 11 was great all day on defense. Little Colin Simmons love there as well. Yeah, fellas, that discussion did happen here at TCH Social Austin of will the Big 12 somehow mess their way all the way out of the playoff? Like, could they possibly be worse than whoever finishes in a couple of those G5 conferences? We'll see. But because Kansas did finish off Colorado, correct?
Yeah, 37-21, finished pretty easily. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Ironically, in a game that Travis Hunter was pretty fantastic in.
Yeah, really. Now you're right. He had some great moments. All right, John, we appreciate you jumping in. And as you guys can see there, Anwar Richardson ready to join us from the stadium. And we will do that here. Let me just make sure. Jason, you want to jump out here?
Yeah, I'll let you guys finish up. I'm gonna keep it on the board and go. Got some family in from out of town.
So that's right. All right, y'all have a good Thanksgiving meal tonight. We appreciate you, and everybody check orangebloods.com for the latest recruiting stuff, the Fasusi visit, and everything else. Jason, thank you. Anwar Richardson.
Hey, you know what's interesting? Catch Arizona State beat BYU today. DB coach for Arizona State, Brian Carrington.
I predicted the Arizona State game. I thought that game was going to be really exciting and really good. I guess in the end it got squirrely. Good win.
They almost messed around.
They almost messed around, Chad.
They got it down to 5. Did BYU ever get a lead? I saw 28-23.
No, and then Arizona State did this thing where at the end of the game, I think 7 seconds to go, they did the Magic Johnson, where you get the ball and then you just throw it up into the air, and I think it worked. But yeah, it was unorthodox. Arizona State closed out the game. Onward, you know what I'm talking about? The Magic Johnson, where
you just throw it up in the air,
a couple of seconds to go, and he just throws the ball up in the
as high as you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's funny that we all consider that. Like, if you're a certain age, I think I knew what you meant without you having to even explain it, Catch. Like, that's the first guy I remember doing that. We've seen it since, but that was the first guy that sort of gets credit for it. All right, we do have some super chats we'll get to, but let's talk to Anwar from the stadium. Anwar, 31-14. Texas handles that business. They get win number 10. They're set up for everything they want in College Station next week. What did Sark have to say afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, lots of things as expected, but I think, he was very happy from, there was a more general conversation. There were some specifics, obviously there's some things that they want to get cleaned up. He felt like, as relates to Quinn, he felt like the ankle kind of started to get tight on him a little bit in the second half. And so because of that, he felt the need to maybe pivot a little bit more towards the run game. He's really happy with the offensive line and how they performed. He said that somebody did a hip drop on Quinn. That he said is nothing illegal, but something to that effect. That's the thing that actually ended up hurting the ankle. Clearly not happy with the fumbles and them continuing to put the ball on the ground. But he went to the overall, happiness of another 10-win season, back-to-back 10-win seasons. They basically controlled their destiny, which he talked about them controlling their destiny and not having to wait on anybody else. And, they basically know that they're win and they are in. And I asked him about this whole thing with, Catch wrote about it last week. But I guess earlier this week, technically, since we're still in the week, about the A&M thing, and look, he just said it's not lost on me that this is going to be a big game, not only for the state of Texas, house is divided, but also for college football. And so he understands that it's not something going to shy away from. He's like, he understands this historic rivalry hasn't been played in a long time. They're finally redoing it. They're going on the road, but it's also a huge game for college football. So he said one of the things he asked his team was like, hey, I know you guys are going to want to win it, but what are you going to do tonight after the game in order to start preparing for that? And so he understands, it's basically you kind of win and you're in as far as next week is concerned. So I thought it was an overall happiness for him, overall happiness about the senior night itself. And he seemed to be really looking forward to the next challenge ahead, which was going to be A&M.
Cam Coleman, is that his third touchdown in the first half?
Does he have all three? I know he's got two of the three. He's got two of the three.
It's about to be Auburn 21-0 over A&M, pending the PAT. 13:09 left in the second quarter. Sorry, I felt like I should torment Chad by saying that out loud.
Well, here's the deal, though. I've just got to say, no matter what happens, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, Catch, you started calling for an Auburn upset versus A&M. It was about 2 weeks ago or 3. I can't remember.
I never said it before the South Carolina game. And then as soon as the South Carolina game was over, I was like, I don't like Auburn for A&M either.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, it's interesting. I'm just giving you props so you'll have it. Catch.
That'll be like, hey, I think I've mentioned A&M's record in November about 400 times. Chad's also been on upset alert all week long, and I don't think he is proud of that. But
Anwar, the most important thing to discuss right now is obviously Quinn Ewers and this injury. What did Sark have to say about the ankle, if anything, in the post game? And did he mention it, or did you guys have to bring it up?
He said that Quinn Ewers can play with a wheelchair and beat Texas A&M because when you look at their record in November, they're not that good. And I think that was what Sark really focused in on when it was all said and done.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
There's no getting away from your Aggies. It's how,
It was an amazing effort, though, because it was professional.
It was a good effort.
It was back on track.
We
just ain't having it, Chad.
Well, and to Catch his point, this is going to be 0 for their last 7 conference road games in November. They'll go to 3-8, I think, now in their last 11 conference games in November. It's going to be another losing November in conference for the Aggies. It's just a bad time of the year for them, and they are getting both.
Yeah, I mean the thing for Texas is no matter what happens with A&M, you still got to win that game to get in to the SEC championship. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to poke. It's all that's still fun. They're still, no matter what, have to go to College Station and pull off a dub. It's just fun to watch it tonight, though.
Yeah, and it's going to
tell you what. The thing is, though, Anwar, I thought, regardless of the A&M game, that Ole Miss losing today probably put Texas in a situation where no matter what happens in the A&M game, I think Texas would be in the playoff. If A&M loses this game and falls down to 3 losses, even if beating Texas means that Texas wouldn't go to the SEC championship game, I think an A&M loss coupled with an Ole Miss loss today, Texas would be in the playoff no matter what happens next year.
Yeah, I think also what helps that, as far as, if you're talking about playoffs and that SEC championship, it also helps that Indiana lost today, and we know they're going to drop as well, right? And so I think, you when you factor that in, I know you're talking from an SEC standpoint, right? But I have to factor that was a team that's there. So Texas did fall. Like, these are the teams that were probably, they would probably still be ahead of. But yeah, the Ole Miss thing, I mean, that's a total choke away for Lane to be able to do that and to just lose like that. That's a bad one for them. Probably, like you said, probably helps a team like Tennessee. They're
the biggest winners of the day, Anwar.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I saw a weird predictor, to your point, Anwar. I saw a strange predictor today that said if Texas just beat Kentucky, their chances of being in the playoff were over 90%. And I thought, wow. And that was before the Ole Miss game ended and before the Indiana game was over. So to y'all's points, I think obviously there's a lot that's set up pretty well, but I think that can be a good argument. And then Anwar, for A&M next week, it does turn into the lesser version for them, but it turns into the if we can't go to Atlanta, you can't go to Atlanta type of game for the Aggies. They get to, we talked about this week, kind of get into more of their comfortable setting of being the underdog, being the, if you want to go little brother, whatever, but being the team that it doesn't have all the expectations. They're trying to ruin somebody's situation. That's what it is for them. Obviously, at this point, barring something crazy tonight in a comeback. So, Anwar, to the point of Quinn Ewers' injury, how was it dealt with in the postgame?
Well, Sark just mentioned that it tightened up. it's always fascinating. He talked about it being a hip drop tackle, and that the ankle started to tighten up on him, and that's why they kind of went to the run game.
Okay.
Was there any question at all about his considering either not or thinking about putting Arch in and saving the wear and tear on the ankle?
No, I don't think that was. I don't think that was even a. If it was a thought, it was definitely not a thought that he shared. It definitely wasn't one that was, asked of him. I think he looked when he. I'm trying to see what he said. Hip drop tackle says not illegal in the NFL. And then he just said, at that point,
he really wasn't asked by anybody whether or not he ever considered it.
I mean, he's never going to say it. He would never say it anyway. I don't think he would ever say it anyway. And I just think it's clear that Sark's goal is to get Quinn to the finish line. Like his goal is to get Quinn to the finish line and finish it off. I think Sark understands and understood, like, if I pull this guy for this moment, it might hurt him with some NFL teams. Like, I'm just trying to get this guy as far along as possible. And I think he pulled him once against Georgia, and barring anything crazy, I think he's just going to keep him going. We haven't seen.
You're right, but the passing game had 14 yards in the second half. He's throwing balls backwards. He's fumbling the snaps. He's throwing the ball. I don't even know what the hell I guess it wasn't a pick six. It was a fumble six.
It's kind of a weird thing, but I thought it was a pick six, but they said it was a fumble. So yeah, weird.
But I mean, just in general, he was out there hobbling. They couldn't do it. I guess, Chad, the way they run the ball out, that 8-minute drive and to end the game essentially from 10-minute mark in the fourth quarter until they score the touchdown, all running the ball. It allowed them to get out of the fourth quarter without asking Quinn to make a play. But I don't know. It was the thing that everybody was talking about, I think, which was, man, can you keep going with him? I'm a little, but Anwar's right. I mean, he would have almost certainly said, I never thought about it. As long as Quinn's healthy, he's the guy we go to. Anwar, I just think there's some projecting ahead that if Quinn were to play next week with an ankle that's as problematic as it was today, what would it mean? Ultimately,
I don't think it means, I'll be honest with you, Catch. I don't think it means anything. I don't think it means anything.
No amount of bad play that at this point is going to get
none. Man, I mean, if he's wanted to go there, there's plenty of times in the second half of the season that he could have gone there after Georgia. That just does not to be a thing unless it's just something dire that happens.
So Anwar, at the 24-7 point, I guess that's right at the half. Like somebody here at TCH Social Austin asked me, hey, would you put Arch in here to rest Quinn for College Station? 17 points. Is it enough? Like we had that discussion. Was that in your mind at that point?
No, because Sark is going to get him to the finish line.
Okay.
Like that. Sark has made it clear. And he said this thing weeks ago. He said, look, I know what it's like to be a quarterback. And I knew when I was a quarterback, even when I was hurt, I didn't want to come out the game. And remember, he went into some sort of analogy where he was hurt and they were going to call some sort of run play. And they thought about putting in the backup. And this is when he was at BYU. And he was like hell to the no. Like that can't happen. Right. So I just think Sark thinks of it at like how if he was in that situation, how would he feel if he was Quinn? And no, I think he's made it clear that you're my quarterback. Unless you don't know what the hell you're doing, even if you're hurt. He had Casey Thompson out there with a thumb that was as big as your head, and he still was like, "You're going to throw the damn ball. I don't care." Like No, he's not. That's not what he's going to do.
Onward, I just think tonight that stubbornness, or whatever word you'd want to use to describe his attitude to making a change, I think it hurt the team tonight. It did not help the offense to have half of Quinn Ewers on the field. And that proved to be true in the third quarter when Texas didn't score any points offensively and was offensively responsible for the 7 points that Kentucky had. And then it doesn't make a difference in the fourth quarter because they ran the ball and Kentucky could never stop it. So kudos to the offensive line and the running game for closing the game out. But Quinn Ewers did not produce anything in that second half that could be described as productive. It was 14 yards passing in the second half as an offense, and it wasn't just because they ran the ball in that 1 8-minute drive in the fourth quarter. They had to basically concede the passing game. You don't have to do that if you make a change at quarterback. I know why he did it, but this game got a little squirrely because of Quinn Ewers' presence in the game and what he wasn't able to do. If that happens against A&M, it'll be interesting to just kind of see what happens, because I think there are a lot of people that would watch the game and go, man, if that happens next week and he stays with Ewers again, like, what are we doing?
You know what this is where Sark, listen, don't shoot the messenger here. But Sark is going to say our defense is playing lights out. So we know that they're not going to but it's not like we're in some sort of shootout, and we're not playing from behind. So we got 6 sacks today, 2 interceptions today. So I know I got a defense that, as long as I make it manageable on the offense, we're fine. And he pointed to, hey, we will also effectively, he talked about being happy that they just were able to pivot, and he talked about winning in different ways. And you know what? We pivot, and it's about the second or third time he said it this season, and we pivot and we ran the ball, and we ran it for 8 minutes and they did it great. So I hear you, but it's like you're telling your friend, you're like, yo, I know you with this girl and I know you like her, but man, she got a little cray in her, man. And he's like, man, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's my boo. Like, you can say whatever about
She's my girl,
but he ain't gonna make a change.
Catch, you got something else you want to hit some super chats here?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go to our man Tom G again with a 10 spot. Tom G, I'm going to try to deliver this first part to the way you're meaning it here. $10. Elko clearly had his team focused on Auburn. Not. If A&M loses, does that give Sark the rope to start or play Arch if Quinn isn't 100%, since we are 100% in the CFP? Anwar, multiple people in the chat have been throwing this idea out. Tom has actually put it into a super chat. Does this line of thinking make any sense to you?
I just don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, he's not going to he's got to, first of all, it's not CFP. He's got to get to the SEC championship game first and foremost. Like, Texas can't mess around. Texas still needs to get to the SEC championship game. All right. So let's put that there. All right. And so they need to get there. And so it's not like there's an automatic buy. So no, he's not going to make this change unless there's just some crazy reason why Quinn can't play. But Quinn was able to finish the game. He'll do some treatment. They'll nurse it through the week, and they'll put him back out there. Like, you will not see Arch unless Quinn just is physically unable to go. And I mean because I feel like when he came back from the abdominal strain, he probably was at 70% or so, probably, and Stark still played him. So if he's over 65, 60-ish, hell, I don't know where Quinn was today from his ankle perspective. It's not going to happen.
Okay. I just want to say, Anwar, that I don't think Quinn Ewers is better than Arch Manning when he's 100%. So not playing the guy that I think is the better quarterback anyway, when the other guy's hobbling around like Tiny Tim. Today, it was a bad decision. And I think he puts Quinn at more risk with the ankle to just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And I think Sarkisian is a lucky boy because the running game was so good that really Quinn just handed off in the fourth quarter and wasn't asked to do a lot. Because if he had, because we're only a missed field goal away from this being a one-score game, and there's an alternative universe out there where Quinn does have to do something in the second half, and he was awful. By the end of the third quarter, it felt like he couldn't throw the ball forward. That
catch while you're not wrong. Catch. Let me remind you. Xavier Worthy played with a broken hand.
I get it.
He played with a broken hand, had 3 drop passes in against Washington in a bowl game. Sark didn't.
But they didn't have anybody else at wide receiver.
I mean, but
he has a quarterback that I'm just
saying when it comes to injuries, he might not be the guy that's going to look at you and say, you know what? Maybe I'll save this. No, he's not going to do it. We've got broken hands. We've got thumbs. Like we got ankles that are twisted and swelling up. I don't know what it is, but he ain't pulling you. That's just how it goes.
All right. Let's see.
I'd be committed if I was KJ Lacey, because I'd be like, hey, if he ain't gonna pull Ewers to play Arch, ain't nobody getting on the field when Arch is in the lineup. Like, it does work forward, right? It's like, man, Sark's loyalty to the quarterbacks is out of this world. If Arch can't get on the field, then all these dudes have to know, you just aren't going to play until Arch is gone.
Shit, he may not play until Arch might be in the NFL. He still may not play. What are you talking about?
Oh, my God. Real quick.
By the way, I stood next to I stood next to, real quick sidebar for a second. I stood next to Jonah Williams today after the game. That's a big guy. I'm 6'2". He's impressive. Like he's like about a good 6'3" or so. What is he, about 220 or something? That's an impressive young man.
Xavier, thank you for the $2 super chat. Nothing came with it, just something in the chip jar. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. We also got this one. Guys, tell me if this is a little out of bounds and we need to take it back down. Super chat, $8. Nobody feels good saying
come
it.
on now.
But come on now. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Trend, for the 8. Let's not go that far.
I mean, the guy, you can't say that when the guy was out there literally playing on one foot.
I mean, that's the thing you can say.
Exactly.
I mean,
it is that's the one thing.
Like what happened today, if you're going to put it on anybody, right? You put it on Sark because Sark's the guy who could have thrown in the towel. And the guy was like, all right, I'll do the best that I can. Like we saw him hobbling and limping on the sidelines. Like, the one thing you can't say is that the guy's not willing to play hurt. Like the guy is willing to play hurt, and he has played hurt throughout his career at Texas. You can't say that.
Right. I totally agree. That's like it's like a Texas fan that still to this day will get on Chris Sims for not being tough. And I'm like, huh? The guy that held his hand out and let him snap his finger back in during a game? Like, are you nuts? That's crazy. All right. ATX Bates back in with a $5 super chat. Quinn's play prior to the ankle injury was showing us that he was balling. The touch throws to Golden over the linebacker and touchdown to Gunner were vintage Quinn. Thank you, Bates. We talked about this earlier, Anwar. Some of that stuff was pretty big time. And just that, that catchable ball that he throws so well, the mid-range stuff that Ketch was talking about earlier, it did look really good. So now what they're going to have to figure out, obviously, is, how compromised is he? And then does the offense needs to change a little bit? Because there was a struggle to it in the second half. You would just kind of wonder what happens in a close game early in College Station, if they can't get the run game going like it was going late tonight, like how do they adjust the passing game if it's really bothering him?
Well, there's two things. I mean, yes, he started off about, I'm looking at it. He was 5 for 5 to start. Then he was 6 for 7. And then he was about 8 for 10 before things kind of started going down a little bit. There, it looked like he had a little stretch. We had a few completions here. It looks like it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like maybe 7 straight completions at one point, which got him to about 17 to 24. But I mean, I think the thing is, at the end of the day, this defense is so good. And this defense is the way they are playing as far as the turnovers are concerned. They got 2 more turnovers, 2 more interceptions today. So they have 17 interceptions on the season. The way the defensive line is getting to those guys. I hear what you're saying, but the flip side of it is this defense is so good that we haven't really seen a team really tee off and really test, stretch Texas from it. Their offense really stretched Texas's defense, right? You haven't seen that. Georgia had an amazing performance, and it would require A&M to kind of duplicate that Georgia performance in order to really do that. Outside of that, this defense has been kind of pretty badass. So, I think it would revolve around those other things that clearly have been working. One of the best defenses in the country. And I've said it before. I said it last week. I'll say it before. Whatever. And I know Ketch will say this guy's better than Quinn, but I'm just using it as a parallel. If he is just your JJ McCarthy, then so be it. Now you may say JJ's better, but if he's your JJ McCarthy with a defense that is as playing as well as this,
JJ McCarthy,
well, that might be enough. That might be enough. That might be enough because it's been enough so far.
Yeah, but he's not JJ McCarthy.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said?
He's your JJ McCarthy.
No, I didn't. That's not what I said.
Okay,
I said, while you may say he's not as good, I'm using this as a parallel.
So like poor man's JJ McCarthy.
You could say poor man's JJ McCarthy, fine. But I didn't say he was JJ McCarthy. I said I'm just using it as a parallel of a bus driver who has a really lights out defense.
Yeah, and the defense certainly was good. And I think we could all agree that the A&M offense, with or without tonight, but especially after tonight with what we're seeing at Auburn, it's not an offense you feel like is really going to be able to do onward. Even what you're talking about, I think that Georgia was able to do at their absolute best. That's not the type of offense.
I mean, they haven't put up a point against Auburn yet, have they?
No, they have not. And actually,
they just did.
They may have just done it. There was a fumble, maybe a fumble into the end zone, or was it a touchdown? So I think they just may have gotten their first points, but it's just not a dynamic offense.
Was that an offensive touchdown?
It was, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
An offensive touchdown. Looks like it might make it.
It was barely an offensive touchdown.
Yeah, it's barely.
Touchdown.
But yeah, to your point, yeah, the Texas defense, they do look good. They are able to hold games together, and they are definitely not going to be facing a dynamic offense next week. Let's see. Speaking of that offense, since it was just mentioned, Josh wanted to discuss it in a super chat. $5. I think it's here. Come on now. There it is. Just slow on my end. I'm sorry, guys, if this is popping up slow for y'all too. I think it is there.
I can see it on my screen.
You got it. Okay, $5 from Josh. A&M is trash. Marcel Reed. LOL.
He actually said ATM. He actually said ATM is trash.
Yes, he did. Okay. Marcel Reed, LOLOL. So an extra out loud. Horns roll. You media bros are overhyping some bums. LOL. Now, wait a minute. Overhyping? Ketch said they'd lose to South Carolina on the road, and I told you it could happen. He also predicted they'd lose to Auburn on the road, and I told you it could happen, and I was worried and concerned all week and certainly never expressed serious confidence in either of those games. Overhyping? What? What are... Huh?
Maybe he thinks that wasn't an offensive touchdown.
Maybe it wasn't. And certainly, I don't want to speak for Anwar, but Anwar, would you say you have been overhyping the Aggies over the last few weeks?
Where did I? Let
I
me
think
look at.
Ottawa has them voted lower than anybody on the staff.
I was going to say, I'm looking at I'm looking at what I sent you from my power rankings from this past week. Let me.
Chad's favorite thing that we do, by the way.
Yeah. I
Love
had
the
them
power
ranked
poll.
like 7th, so kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I think it's fair to say we report it like we see it, and I
Hey,
don't
Catch,
think
can I
we've been
put you in
saying any
fight
of that.
mode for a second?
Sure.
I'm going to put this up here by Tex Rich. Why'd you take it off, Chad?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was taking the other one off. My bad.
Okay, Catch. He said JJ McCarthy was trash as F. Ewers is light years better.
I mean, that's just dumb. I don't know how to respond to that other than to say that's dumb.
Okay.
JJ McCarthy was first team All Big Ten last year, was the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, was the Rose Bowl MVP. He won a national championship. He finished, I think, 10th in the Heisman voting last year. Come on.
Who's the best quarterback in the SEC this year? Is it Milroe?
Yeah.
Is that what we're down to?
Has to be, I think.
Jackson Dart shit the bed today. Golly.
God,
Dart will get first or second team All SEC, but yeah, he pooped his pants.
I was going to say for the first quarter or so, I would have told you it was Dart.
Beck looked
Anwar.
like trash for a few weeks as well. I mean, there's some guys who really.
Maybe they could just give another position an extra position.
You remember, like when they made Andrew Beck a fullback or something?
Yes,
when he was a tight end?
exactly like that.
Yeah.
Just like a six, like there could be 6 offensive linemen this year. I just,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Let's see. Looks like a $5 chat here from Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat. A $5 super chat says that's not good enough. I've seen Texas lose to a mid A&M team 12-7 because a coach was too stubborn to bench an injured, ineffective quarterback. Better not do it again.
I mean, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And if you're a Texas fan and you've been around for a while, it was hard not to think of that a little bit, like just in terms of, boy, you rolled out Colt McCoy in 2006 because that was your guy. And there was a little bit of like Jevin Sneed as the young freshman. You know, I think there was, we're going to roll with Colt McCoy. He's our guy. And by the end of that game, A&M fans were calling him Cart McCoy because A&M took a guy that couldn't move around and wasn't at his best and body slammed him to the ground and made him feeble. And yeah, that will not be the last time 2006 is referenced in the next 7 days.
Which, by the way, Catch, I know you guys are watching A&M. For some odd reason, Alabama and Oklahoma is at a 3-3 tie with about 6 minutes before halftime.
It's been a 3-3 game. I mean, it is not like, yeah, Anwar, but it could be 17-17. No, it's been every bit of a 3-3 game so far.
This is why, honestly, Catch, this is literally why I sometimes I'm like, you know, a little bit dismissive sometimes about stuff. Because I'm looking at all these other top-notch teams that struggle against teams that they shouldn't be struggling against. And I just look at Texas just handling their business and pretty much covering the spread on most games, probably not the Arkansas game and maybe not the Vanderbilt game. But, I mean, at least those are decent teams. Like, I mean, we all know Oklahoma's not good, and this is what happened, and Auburn's not supposed to be good. That's why I'm just like, man, at least Texas is handling their business.
That's it. That's what it's about. 31-14. I mean, for whatever else it was, you certainly you don't bitch about 31-14. There's no doubt. This just came in, Anwar, and feels like it's kind of for you since there's an exclamation point. Anwar, show my picks. Texas wins. DT partying.
So it's, South End Zone Queen.
Can you translate this for us, please?
So South End Zone Queen is like a lot of my friends, right? Who text me a lot during the games. And I'm like, it's kind of hard because I'm trying to do some work. And they're like, hey, what's going on? All right, so let me see. This is going to be tough.
So wait, she is busting into the postgame show to have you say some of her picks from like your phone from like a previous conversation?
So I'm gonna no. It's all relevant to today.
Okay.
So let me see if I can do this. So this is her with Fasusi. Can you see that?
I do. All right.
She ended up getting a picture with Fasusi before the game. Does that come through?
It's clear as day, Onward. Clear as day.
So hold on.
Okay.
Then
gotta have that.
She got a picture with Bijan.
All right, hang on. Let me make sure. There we go.
Okay, the zoom in. There we go.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Excellent.
Right,
okay.
Hey,
if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
Oh God. So there's this one.
Her. Oh, Sark. Okay, there we go.
Who is that next to Sark?
His wife.
Okay, Sark and L'Oreal walking in. All right, got that.
Okay.
And then a little Taff.
Looks like Taff.
Flag, I give up, man.
The Queen and Taff. Okay, there it is.
Hold on. All right. Well, she put a super chat in.
Okay.
Oh,
hey,
Jade.
She got one with Barron. Excellent. That's awesome.
Look at the guy in the background, though. Doesn't he look kind of pissed off, though?
The guy in the background.
Who is this woman?
The guy in the background is mean mugging hard.
It's like Suge Knight when it's like, who's that? All up in the videos.
Oh my God.
This one's not coming through as well. This is one of her friends.
Okay. One of
Edgar,
her friends.
I believe is his name.
Okay.
And then
Did you
I
get
think
one
that's
with
it.
Quinn?
That was with Nate Boyer.
Oh, it's Nate Boyer. Okay. Very nice. Look at that.
There you
Okay. So that's
She didn't get
you know
one
what?
with Quinn though.
No.
Okay, so this
What's
is
up with that South End Zone Queen?
Here's how dumb I am, Anwar. When she said show my picks, I thought she meant like picks on games. I didn't think she meant pictures. So South End Zone Queen, my bad. Good stuff.
I was worried
Good
that
picks.
people would interpret that as
Yeah, no.
Oh, like South End Zone Queen sent Anwar some pictures, huh? Is that what you're saying?
which I know wasn't the case, but
No, we know
I don't
that.
think she would do that in the public realm.
No,
yeah, show my picks is a funny thing to say.
that is a little bizarre.
Are we caught up on super chats?
Not quite. We have a handful more. We got about 6 more if you want to get through them here.
Yes.
Ray C, $4.99 super chat. Which one of Sark's assistants gets a head coaching offer at the end of the season?
Well, I think I've heard. I think Kyle Flood's name will come up. Somebody said something. I was reading something. I think it was on The Athletic the other week after the Temple job. Stan Drayton got fired, and someone just threw his name out there, and for no connection. Like there was no, oh, we've heard from our sources. They just threw it out there, right? So,
I know what the connection is.
but because he was from up north.
Well, no, he took a shitty job at Rutgers. So, if a shitty head coaching job on the East Coast opens up,
Yeah.
he's taken it before.
Yeah, he would be the most logical one for me. That would probably come up as far as a head coaching job. I tell you, the person who deserves it over everybody is Pete K. And I know defensive coordinators aren't quote unquote sexy. As far as that's the guy that you should pick for a job. But if you look at the last couple of years, especially this season. I mean, if you got the best defense in the country or for a team that's competing for a national championship, your name should be mentioned.
That's a guy I thought of, yeah.
We all had A&M 7th in the SEC, other than Alex, who had them 6th going into today.
Yeah, I mean.
I wouldn't say that we've overhyped A&M.
Yeah, how dare y'all overhype the Aggies? I can't believe y'all would do that.
Unless he wants to say they're really 10th or 11th.
Yeah, right.
And we just overhyped them at 7.
Exactly. All right, let's we'll get through some more of these super chats here. We got Oscar back in with $4.99. Was watching the game on my phone while signing a new lease, but Blues ball security is still the worst thing I saw this weekend. All right, well there you go, Oscar. And they certainly can't take that kind of ball security to College Station or anywhere else with them, Anwar. It It was weird, and I'm sure Sark's trying to figure out how to deal with it. But man, that period of time in the third quarter was bizarre.
How do you stop how do you stop it at this point? I mean, you're this many. You can only walk around campus with the ball in your hand so many times. That there has to be another way. Because he got away with the first fumble. Like he got away with the first fumble, and luckily he had crossed the plane. But that he really put the ball on the ground then. And then he had this one. He's lucky because when it was Mississippi State and he fumbled twice, like we didn't know that the guy was on a milk carton. Like we didn't see him. So he's lucky Sark even went back to him. Now he's also lucky that Sark don't have a lot of bodies. So like, he don't have that many options at this point. By the way, I do have to say, Catch, where the hell is Colin Page? Where is our spring our spring? What was not only spring game, but there was like a scrimmage or
he
so.
He has the highest yards per carry of everybody on the team right now.
Give me some Colin Page. Like I'm down to see what he's got at this moment.
So Anwar, let me ask a strange question here. It just occurred to me. I think the sequencing makes sense. Do you think Sark would have given Jaden Blue another carry in the entire game after the fumble if Gibson hadn't fumbled?
Correct. He's a rock in a hard place at this point.
Right? I mean,
he'll play on. If Anwar asks him a fumble question, he may put Anwar in the game.
It's literally he's in a rock in a hard place because he's got running backs that pretty much those two guys, they can't hold on to the ball. Gibson, here's the thing. Gibson's understandable because he's a freshman.
Right.
Freshman fumble. Jaden Blue's he's been on campus too long to have to fumble this much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey,
I saw totally
a comment, Chad, I just want to read to you.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh my God.
The gist of it was based on everything that is happening today.
Yeah.
The Big 12 confirmed that in a situation where BYU, Colorado, Arizona State, and Iowa State all finish with 7-2 records in conference play, which I believe they all have 2 losses at this point.
Okay.
That Arizona State would play Iowa State at Jerry World.
Classic.
That would be awesome.
And one of those teams getting into the playoff, we think.
Yeah,
because you got to have the top four conference teams make it.
Well, here's the key, guys. What's going on in
with the top 5 champions, right?
Right. Notre Dame's up 28-7 here at the half. Assuming Army gets knocked back down from that one, I don't know that Army gets anything the rest of the year that would get them back up. What you'd have to have is Army and Boise both win their conference and both be higher seeded than the Big 12 champ. That's I just don't know that's going to happen.
Iowa State is unranked at this point.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know.
This is the byproduct of these super conferences now because they don't play each other and they don't. It's not like East and West, and now we've got these 2 things, and now we go from there. They're just like we're just lumped in there, and so now you got all these scenarios. And I think Chad pointed this out a few weeks ago, and I've kind of latched onto it. It literally now is. Let's just give you as many teams to choose from to increase our odds. So we're going to give you as many 10-2 teams as possible to increase our odds of making this in here. So that's why I don't think like the SEC will ever move to a 9-game conference schedule because that's just adds in a potential another loss. I think they'll stay at 8, and everybody else will say, let's just stay where we are. Let's just load up on the wins, and let's see if we can get like 2-3 teams in.
Yeah, I think so. And by the way, fellas, congrats to the SMU Mustangs. They are in the ACC championship game, and they stomped another opponent today. The freaking Mustangs may end up with a bye in the playoff if they can win that game against either Miami or.
All right, stop. Hey, all right, $50 super chat came in, so hold your thoughts.
There we go. Little 50 spot. Hang on, let me find it. There it is. Oh, and look who it is, too. South End Zone Queen with more pictures. Show the rest. Lots, y'all. We got to win it all. $50 more. Anwar,
do you better way? Yes,
Anwar,
come on.
Do you have more pictures? Come on, let's go. More pictures. Let's do it. let's do it. Come on, more pictures. I can't see.
With
Oh, I see. It's the back of a player. Okay, that's just somebody's back.
Okay,
so
you Quinn with Del Conte.
Oh, Quinn and Del Conte, there they are. Yeah. Quinn
I
Ewers
thought
and
for a
Del
second
Conte.
maybe that was her arm, and I was like, she's everywhere.
Yeah, that's Quinn and Del Conte.
Quinn and Del Conte from the back shot. There we go. We're walking in. Okay.
I'm not quite sure who these guys are.
Okay.
Well, that's
There you
Daniel
go.
Cruz.
Okay.
That's
Kelvin
Kelvin
Banks.
Banks,
Right.
who obviously
Like
didn't
Banks
walk.
coming in for a hug.
Yeah, it looks that way,
He
right?
is,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, hey, how you doing?
That looks like Kelvin Banks and South End Zone Queen are, they know each other. Look at that. That's cool. Oh, Alfred Collins. Nice. Okay.
Is that it? And is that Gooseby in the background too?
I think that might be right. This needs to be a part of every post game, as far as I'm concerned. If we could get the South End Zone Queen pictures, only for super chats though, because we need the money, South End Zone Queen. So thank you very much, Gibson.
Okay,
walking in there.
South End Zone Queen, I'm now photoed out.
You're now done?
Now
You're done?
Dad, here's where I am. We've officially been
done.
going for 2+ hours.
We have.
Let's super chat these out, and I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I feel like you were about to swear there, and you kept yourself from it. I appreciate that. All right, real quick catch, just a comment from somebody from your interception question. Kenny Vaccaro at A&M was a good interception. J. Cole says go look that one up. That one does not immediately jump into my memory, but
No, I know which one he's talking about. It was a really good interception.
was that in the 11 game? The last game?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. By the way, Jay Coles, if you're insinuating that Ryan Tannehill threw an interception, I do not know what you're talking about, because that never, ever happened back in the day. Brian, $4.99 super chat. With Quinn already struggling, I think that crowd noise and pressure are going to really impact his play at Aggieland. Hope he proves me wrong. See, fellas, the word struggling here is a weird one, because there was some really good football before a certain point, and then it's an ankle. Like, I don't know. It's going to be wild to see just how it all plays out. But Anwar, obviously, even with what is happening tonight at Auburn, you said it earlier, the atmosphere is going to be crazy, and we got to see how that offense responds to what they're going to deal with.
Yeah, but I think the thing that Texas will lean on a little bit, and I guarantee you on Monday you'll hear start talk about they've been in hostile environments before, and they'll talk about winning on the road in the Big House earlier this year. They'll talk about the Tuscaloosa game from last year, and so they'll point towards, hey, we've been in some hostile things, and that has got us prepared for A&M.
There you go. Thank you for that, Brian. We appreciate you. Couple more real quick. $2 from Xavier says, did Jason get to talk to Fasusi before he left? Jason talked to Fasusi earlier today. I don't believe got to talk to him after the game.
Talk to him tomorrow.
You can't talk to a kid on a visit, so that you can't. That's
well, he's an unofficial visit, so you could, but
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
He's kind of busy.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled on orangebloods.com over the next day or so, and Jason will have the very latest for you. And finally, Michael makes a Monty Python reference, $1.99. Quinn is the Black Knight in Monty Python. That's it. I'll have your leg. What are you going to do, bleed on me?
Oklahoma scored.
'Tis but a flesh wound. Michael, thank you so much for that super chat.
Oklahoma's now going to go up, it looks like probably 10-0. I mean, 10-3.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And a real quick from ATX Bates, Deshaun Jameson versus West Virginia. Was Odell Beckham good? Oh, that was a good one. Catch, go. You remember that one?
Yep.
Thank you, Bates. I'd forgotten about that one. That was a damn good interception. And I was actually at that game. That's the one time I got to go to a West Virginia game. I went with a group of Longhorns, and my God, that was a hell of a catch. Good point. All right, fellas, anything else before we close up? Texas wins.
No, wraps up, Chad.
Let's do it. Thank y'all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications up. Over 1,700 of you in that Specs chat as we get ready to close. Thanks again to TCH Social Austin. Let's show you the room one more time. That's the screen where all the watching happens. That's where we were watching Texas beat Kentucky, and it's where you can come watch Texas and Texas A&M next Saturday night, 6:30 kick. That means the drink specials will start at 5:30 in the afternoon. Catch and Jason Sukumel are going to be there. Anwar is going to join him on the post game from the press box at Kyle Field. And if I can get my phone to work, I just might join you on the post game from wherever I can, get a signal after the game, because I'm actually going to be in the stands next week at Kyle Field. All right, so got all that done. Thanks to TCH Social Austin. Thank you to the Lowy Law Firm. They are They're sponsoring the post-game show, and now I'm being told to wrap it up. First, we had the South End Zone Queen pictures, and now we have.
Now I'll give you the Chappelle. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. $1.99 real quick from James. I appreciate the coverage. Thank you, James. We appreciate you. One last super chat. Never hurt. Y'all take care. We will talk to you on Orange Bloods Live throughout the week. Take care. Texas is 10-1.